Revealed. The dirty secrets my husband tried to keep hidden. Hey Reddit, I never thought I'd be writing here, but I honestly don't know where else to turn. I'm a 39F, married to my husband Alex, 42M, for almost 12 years. We met in grad school, built a quiet little life together in the suburbs outside Boston, and until recently, I would have told you our marriage was solid. Nothing spectacular, but comfortable. We have one daughter, Lily, who's 9 and the light of my life. Alex is a senior project manager for an architecture firm. I'm a middle school teacher. We don't live lavishly, but we've never wanted for anything important. The truth is, for most of our marriage, I trusted Alex completely. He's always been a bit reserved, the kind of person who keeps his feelings close, but I chalked it up to being an introvert. He works long hours, sometimes travels for work, but he always calls to say goodnight to Lily. He's not the flowers and love notes kind of husband, but he's never been cruel or cold, just distant at times. The changes started so gradually, I almost didn't notice. Maybe a year ago, he began coming home later and later, blaming project deadlines. He started locking his phone, something he'd never done before. Our conversations became clipped, routine. When I asked about his day, he'd give one-word answers, barely making eye contact. I'd find myself eating dinner alone with Lily, listening to his empty chair creak as the house settled. At first, I made excuses for him. Work is stressful, I thought. Men process things differently. Maybe he's just tired, or maybe I'm being paranoid. But a tiny voice in the back of my mind whispered that something wasn't right. That voice is why I'm here, typing this out with shaking hands and a pounding heart. I need to know if I'm losing my mind, or if I should trust my instincts. Because everything I thought I knew about my life is starting to unravel. The anxiety started as a low hum in the background of my life, just a feeling I couldn't shake. I told myself I was overreacting, but the more I tried to ignore it, the more obvious things became. Alex's phone was always glued to his hand, screen down. He changed his passcode for work security. He started taking calls outside or in the garage, speaking in a hushed voice. When I'd ask who it was, he'd wave me off. Just Mark from the office, nothing important. We used to share everything. I would vent about my day, talk about Lily's school projects, gossip about my friends. But now, whenever I tried to start a real conversation, he'd either snap at me or zone out completely. One night, he even slept on the couch because he had a headache. We hadn't argued. My friends started to notice, too. At book club, Jen asked, "Is Alex okay? He seems distant lately." I laughed it off, but inside, I felt exposed. Was it that obvious? Even Lily asked, "Why doesn't Daddy play with us anymore?" That question nearly broke me. The breaking point came one Saturday when Alex left for a work meeting, but forgot his laptop. I called him, but he didn't answer. My texts went unread for hours. He finally came home after sunset, looking exhausted and almost guilty. I tried to ask where he'd been, but he brushed past me and locked himself in the office. That night, I lay awake listening to his restless breathing, wondering what secrets lay between us. I wanted to believe he was just stressed, but my gut screamed otherwise. I felt like a stranger in my own marriage, tiptoeing around someone I used to know. The doubt was no longer a whisper. It was a roar, and it wouldn't let me rest until I found the truth. The next morning, I woke up determined. I couldn't keep living like this, second-guessing every word and action. Alex left early, claiming he needed to go into the office for an emergency meeting. After Lily settled in front of her cartoons, I stared at the closed door of Alex's office, heart pounding. I knew it was wrong, but I couldn't help myself. I had to look. His laptop was gone, but his desk drawers weren't locked. I rummaged through folders and receipts. Nothing unusual, until I found an unfamiliar credit card statement tucked between work files. My name wasn't on it. There were charges I didn't recognize, expensive dinners, hotel stays downtown, a boutique I'd never heard of. My hands shook as I snapped photos with my phone. My mind raced with explanations. Maybe it was work-related, maybe it was innocent. But deep down, I knew these weren't work lunches or business hotels. I checked his closet next. Buried under an old suitcase, I found a second phone. I froze. It was cheap, the kind you'd buy with cash and toss away. I stared at it for a long time before I finally turned it on. There were only a few texts, but each one felt like a punch to the gut. Miss you already. Can't wait for Friday. A saved contact. R. No last name. No photos. Nothing else. I sat there in the dark office, my whole body trembling, as Lily laughed at cartoons down the hall. I felt sick, dizzy, furious. Tears stung my eyes. Everything I feared was staring me in the face. The man I'd built my life around. My partner, my friend, Lily's father, was hiding something, and I was terrified to find out how deep the lies went. But I knew I couldn't stop now. If I wanted answers, I'd have to keep digging, no matter what it cost me. For days, I was a ghost moving through my own life. Every glance at Alex felt loaded. Every excuse, every smile, every "I love you" sounded fake. I became obsessed with the burner phone, checking for new messages when Alex was out. There weren't many. Just a few, all from R, always vague but intimate. They referenced places and times that matched some of those hotel charges. I memorized every detail. I confided in Jen, my closest friend. Her eyes went wide as I told her everything. My suspicions, the receipts, the secret phone. "You need proof," she said, squeezing my hand. "Real proof, so he can't lie his way out." She offered to help, promising to watch Lily if I needed time. With Jen's encouragement, I started piecing together Alex's work schedule with his mysterious expenses. I kept a spreadsheet, dates, locations, amounts. I even called one of the hotels, pretending to be Alex's assistant. My stomach churned as the clerk confirmed a Mr. Alexander S. had stayed there several Fridays over the past months. One afternoon, while Alex showered, I checked his regular phone. Voicemail. Deleted messages. I managed to retrieve a few. One from R, voice soft and familiar, laughing about a secret getaway. I recorded it, hands shaking. I began to feel more like a detective than a wife. Every day, I was torn between rage and heartbreak, between needing to know the truth and desperately wanting to turn back time. I snapped at Lily over nothing, barely slept, barely ate. My nerves were shredded, but I couldn't stop. Not now. The more I uncovered, the more I realized the man I married was a stranger. I didn't know who R was or how far this betrayal went, but I was ready to find out, no matter how much it hurt. It all came to a head one Friday night, the kind Alex usually spent working late. This time, I decided I'd stop wondering and see for myself. Jen insisted on driving me downtown and waiting nearby, just in case. I felt sick with nerves, but I needed to see the truth with my own eyes. We parked across from the boutique hotel I'd seen on the credit card statement. The lobby glowed soft and golden through the glass doors. I felt ridiculous, hiding in Jen's car, but my heart hammered in my chest. At 7:12 p.m., I spotted Alex. He wasn't alone. A woman clung to his arm, laughing at something he whispered. My stomach dropped. She was tall, striking, dressed in a way I never dared anymore. They didn't see me. I watched, frozen, as Alex checked in at the front desk, arms still around her. He looked relaxed, happy, a different man. I snapped photos, hands shaking so hard Jen had to steady me. I felt hot tears sliding down my cheeks, tears of humiliation, anger, and utter disbelief. It was one thing to find messages or receipts. Seeing him like this made it undeniable. The man I'd built a life with had another life, one that didn't include me or Lily. Jen pulled me into a hug as I sobbed into her coat. "You need to confront him," she said quietly, "but not tonight. Come home with me." I nodded, numb, hollowed out. That night, in Jen's guest room, I stared at the ceiling, replaying every moment of my marriage, every lie, every deflection. All the love I'd poured into our life together felt like a cruel joke. I finally had proof, but it didn't bring relief. Only heartbreak. But I knew one thing for sure. I wouldn't let him gaslight me. I wouldn't let him rewrite this story. Tomorrow, I would make him face the truth. I barely slept that night. By morning, my sorrow had hardened into resolve. Jen made me tea and promised to keep Lily for as long as I needed. I drove home, rehearsing what I'd say, picturing every possible outcome. Anger, denial, tears. I was ready for all of it. I just wanted the truth. Alex was at the kitchen table, scrolling his phone like any normal Saturday. He looked up, surprised to see me home so early. "Hey, you're back," he said, his voice casual, almost cheerful. I sat across from him, my hands clenched in my lap. "We need to talk," I said. My voice was steady, colder than I meant. He frowned. "About what?" I took a deep breath and laid out the evidence. The receipts, the hotel stays, the burner phone. I told him I'd seen him last night. I played the voicemail from R. I watched every flicker of emotion on his face, shock, anger, fear. At first, he denied everything, insisting R was just a colleague, that the hotel stays were for business. When I told him I'd seen her, his defenses crumbled. He put his head in his hands and let out a guttural groan. I didn't want you to find out like this, he muttered. I asked him who she was. He hesitated, then confessed. Her name is Rachel. We met at a conference last year. I didn't plan for any of this. He begged me to understand, said he still loved me, that it just happened. He cried, pleaded, swore he'd end it. But I saw now how practiced he was at lying. Every apology rang hollow. I realized I'd spent too long believing in the man I wanted him to be, not the man sitting in front of me. I stood up, shaking. You don't get to rewrite what you did. I know who you are now. I won't pretend for you anymore. I left him at the table, sobbing into his hands, the truth finally exposed between us. The house felt haunted after that confrontation, echoes of old routines and laughter now replaced with silence and tension. Alex slept in the guest room, his side of the closet conspicuously untouched. He texted me during the day, sometimes apologizing, sometimes begging for another chance. I couldn't bring myself to answer. Lily knew something was wrong. She asked, "Why does Daddy sleep in the other room?" I hugged her tightly and told her, "Mommy and Daddy need some time to talk about grown-up things, but we both love you so much." She seemed satisfied, but I could see her confusion flicker behind her eyes. Word spread fast. Jen kept checking in, bringing over dinner, and sitting with me through the worst nights. My mother called, concerned and quietly furious. She never liked Alex, but she kept her "I told you so" to herself. I dreaded telling my in-laws, but eventually I did. Alex's mother wept on the phone, apologizing for her son, but there was nothing left to say. Work was a blur. I went through the motions, teaching my students, pasting on a smile. At night, I'd lie awake replaying every sign I'd missed, every time I'd convinced myself things were fine. I grieved for the life I thought I had, and for the man I realized I never truly knew. Alex tried to fix things, offering to go to therapy, promising it was over with Rachel. I told him I needed space. He cried, threatened to move out, then begged me not to make any decisions yet. Each plea chipped away at my resolve, but I clung to the one thing I could control, the truth. I wouldn't ignore it or explain it away. For the first time in years, I put my own feelings first. I wasn't sure what the future would hold, but I knew the old version of us was gone for good. The weeks that followed blurred together in a haze of grief, anger, and aching uncertainty. I met with a therapist, alone at first, just to sort through the whirlwind in my mind. She told me I was experiencing both betrayal and ambiguous loss. I cried through the first session, mourning not just Alex's lies, but the future I thought we were building together. Alex moved out temporarily. We told Lily he needed to work away from home for a while. But even at 9, she sensed the tension. Her drawings shifted. Bright family portraits now showed 2 houses, sometimes a sad face peeking from a window. It broke my heart. Rachel, the other woman, never reached out to me directly, but I heard from mutual acquaintances that she was mortified her affair had come to light. I couldn't bring myself to care about her feelings. I was too busy trying to get through the day. Jen was my lifeline. She brought coffee, made me laugh, reminded me that I wasn't broken. My mom came over to help with Lily, cleaning the house and cooking big pots of soup the way she used to when I was a child. For the first time in a long time, I let myself be taken care of. I learned practical things, too. How to reset the Wi-Fi, handle bills, fix the leaky sink Alex had always ignored. Each small victory gave me back a piece of myself. Some nights, I'd stare at the ceiling and replay every moment, every warning sign. I wondered if I'd ever be able to trust again. But then I'd hear Lily's soft breathing or Jen's texts full of hope and jokes, and I'd remember I was still here. The world hadn't ended. It just looked different now. The first time I saw Alex after he moved out, it was for a scheduled meeting about Lily. He looked smaller, older, like he'd lost something too. We met at a playground so Lily could run and play while we talked. I watched her climb, strong and fearless, and for a moment, I envied her certainty. Alex apologized again, softer this time, no grand gestures. He asked if we could try counseling together, for Lily's sake if nothing else. I agreed, not out of hope for reconciliation, but to create some stability for our daughter and maybe, someday, forgiveness for myself. Counseling was awkward at first, both of us tiptoeing around the pain. The therapist helped us talk, really talk, about the years of distance, unspoken resentments, and choices that led us here. I heard Alex admit he'd felt lonely, inadequate, desperate to feel wanted again. I told him how abandoned I'd felt, how the trust we built was shattered, maybe forever. I started to realize that even if I couldn't forgive him yet, or ever, I could let go of the need to fix everything. My worth wasn't tied to being a good wife or saving the marriage. I had survived the worst days and was still standing. Friends invited me out, and slowly, I said yes. I laughed again, really laughed, not just the polite smiles I'd pasted on for months. Lily and I started our own traditions: pizza Fridays, movie nights with popcorn, gardening on the weekends. There were still hard days, but they no longer defined me. Each step I took alone was proof. I could build something new out of the ruins. I didn't need to be afraid of the truth anymore. Now, months later, the pain has faded, never fully gone, but softer, less sharp. Sometimes, in quiet moments, the grief returns. But it doesn't control me. Alex and I are civil, focused on co-parenting Lily. Therapy helped us find a new, respectful rhythm. There's no going back to what we were, but I've accepted that. I think, in a strange way, I'm grateful for the clarity, for finally seeing things as they are. I've learned more about myself than I ever wanted to. I'm stronger than I knew. I've faced my worst fears and survived. There are still days when the loneliness is heavy, when I wonder if I'll ever trust someone again. But there are also days filled with laughter, with Lily's hugs, with new possibilities I never imagined. For anyone reading this who finds themselves in a similar nightmare, trust your instincts. Don't let anyone make you doubt what you feel in your gut. Gather your courage. Protect your heart, but don't close it forever. You are not defined by someone else's betrayal. You are not alone. I don't know what the future holds, but I know I'll meet it on my own terms. I'm not just surviving. I'm living, and for the first time in a long time, I'm proud of who I am. Thank you to everyone who read this far. Your support means more than you know.